hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Lee Elias, and I'm joined, as always, by Christy Casciano-Burns and Mike Benelli. And we have a very special guest today. It is Jody M. Anderson, the author of Hockey Moms Aren't Crazy. If you haven't heard of this book, I don't know how you haven't heard of this book. It's one of the funniest little wonderful knickknacks you could ever get as a hockey parent, hockey fan, hockey friend, hockey player, hockey coach, hockey mom, hockey dad, hockey cousin. I'm going to stop there. They're probably going to tune away from the episode. It's a really interesting story here. So Jody grew up on a 100-acre horse farm, already a tongue twister here, where she boarded, trained, showed, and bred horses. Now, it is said to be expensive, time-consuming, and require lots of driving. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Jody credits that experience for preparing her for the life as a hockey mom. Jody has 4 children, 5 grandchildren, and 1 husband. They are the loves of her life. One child played lacrosse in college. Another was a diver in college. One played hockey at the junior level and one at the high school level. We're going to dive deep into that and more. Jody, first off, welcome to Our Kids Play Hockey. It's wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
We're all excited. Christy's excited. Mike's excited. I think we all have questions for you. But the first one I think we have to ask is, why don't you just walk us through your hockey journey? Because I love that in your bio, most people with a hockey bio are going to start out with hockey. I did all this stuff in hockey. I love that you start out with a horse farm and how that prepared you. Why don't you tell us the story of how Jody Anderson got to where she is today?
Oh my gosh. Well, the quarter horse farm was a lot of work, just like hockey's a lot of work, dedication. But my whole hockey career started when my son came home with a blue piece of paper, running off the bus, just dead run coming into the house and going, I can play hockey for free. I can play hockey for free. And I'm like, yeah, probably not, but we'll check into it. So that's how I actually got my start, even though my cousin, Doug Palazari, played for the St. Louis Blues.
There you go. Well, I just, everybody listening to this episode just said, that's not true. Hockey's never free. Right. But that's okay. You found that out throughout the journey. So, and then you got right into it, right? The kids just started playing and I guess you fell right into the role.
Yes, I did. I'm a real helpful person, I feel. So wherever there was help, they needed help, I was in the concession stand, or I was tying somebody else's skates, or, doing coach's notes, or whatever they needed, I did, which eventually led me to the high school level where we ended up splitting our boys and girls high school hockey team.
Right.
And I ended up writing the articles of incorporation, the bylaws. So, I really got into it, and then was also a billet family for some junior hockey players and things like that.
Right. Well,
so you've experienced hockey at just about every level, Jody.
Just about. I now have friends that play in the NHL, so that's kind of fun.
So Jody, what I love about your book, and I'm going to hold it up again, it's Hockey Moms Aren't Crazy, is that we've had other authors on the show. We've had authors that have done history books about the history of the game. Christy and I are authors, not to name drop Christy, but the show is named after her book, My Kids Play Hockey. You can get that on Amazon. This book. What I love about your book is the sarcasm behind it, because it is so obviously captured by a hockey mom, right? If a hockey mom were to write a book, it would either be this very funny, very, very good at telling stories, or it would just be an angry mess. You chose the higher of the 2 routes and gave us this wonderful, wonderful book. And, again, we'll go through some of the stories, but for those of you listening, and again, I'm pitching this to you because we have her on as a guest just because she's an awesome person, but this book has illustrations, funny stories. One of my favorite ones right off the bat, and Mike, you'll like this one too, is a kid went to the practice. She opened the hockey bag, and inside the bag was a little furry creature. They happened to bring the ferret, the pet ferret, to practice that popped out of the bag. And the reason I remember that one, Jody, is because when I was in college, my captain showed up. He was a 6'5" giant, right? And I remember he opened his bag, and this little mouse ran out, and he jumped up on the benches like an elephant. It was legit, just like out of a cartoon. But the stories in this book are hilarious. Why don't you walk us through, the moment of inception where you were like, oh, I have an idea for a book, all the way through the process of getting this, into my hand, into Christy's hand, into Mike's hand.
I actually had no intentions of writing a book. I work for a publisher, and I've been there almost 25 years now. And I would come back from hockey tournaments with these crazy stories about my kids. My boss came out to me one day and said, you need to write a book. And I went, yeah, nope, not happening. I know what it takes to market it. I know what it takes to sell it. I said, and I like my job here. So if it doesn't go well, I'd like to keep my job. And we just kind of left it at that. And he was kind of chuckling. I came in the next day, contract was in my office on my desk. And he said, and he walks in and he goes, did you see that? And I went, yes, I did. And I said, I just don't know if this is a good idea. And he goes, well, you either write it or you're fired. And what? And he said, I'm actually kidding about that, but I really want you to think about the Hockey Mom book. He said, I've done research. There's nothing on the market like that. So 8 months later, we turned this book around, found an illustrator, and I actually didn't even meet the illustrator, excuse me, until the Minnesota Wild did my book launch.
Wow.
So I met him there. So that's actually how the book came to fruition.
And the book's been out there.
You did a lot of, you did a lot of research too. I mean, you've reached out to a lot of people and even some well-known hockey players to give everybody some knowledge of what it's really like, an inside look at the life of hockey.
Yeah, I think that my favorite story, of course, or person in that book, it would be Mike Eruzione. So I'm on my couch one night with a glass of wine, scrolling through Twitter, seeing what's going on. And all of a sudden Mike pops up and I'm like, Mike's on Twitter? And I'm going, oh, I would love a story about him and his mom. I just would really love one. So I took another sip of wine. I thought, oh, what the heck? So I zapped him a little tweet saying, hey, Mike, I'm doing a Hockey Mom book. Would love a story with your mom and you. 30 seconds go by. Love this idea. Contact me at BU. Here's the number. I'm like, well, that was easy. So the next morning I get up and I have my coffee and I'm looking at this number. So I contacted Boston University and it went right into his voicemail. And I thought, well, we'll wait and see what happens. So I don't know how long went by. It wasn't quite a week that went by. And I was thinking he had forgotten about it. No big deal. I never wanted to force anyone to be in the book. They wanted in, great. If they didn't, no problem. I'm in my Jeep going to an eye doctor appointment and the phone rings. No idea who it is. So I'm just going to let it go to voicemail. For some strange reason, I still can't explain it. It didn't go into voicemail. So now I'm annoyed. So tap the button on my Jeep. Hello. And the other voice goes, is this Jody? And I said, yes, it is. How can I help you? Just like, what do you want? Right? It was a telemarketer or something. And he goes, Jody, Mike Eruzione here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you want to talk about instant personality change? Oh, hi, Mike, how are you? And he goes, I love this idea. I want in this book. Let's do it. And I said, Mike, I'm really sorry. I don't have anything prepared. Nothing. I'm driving to an eye doctor appointment. And he goes, oh, no problem. I'm heading to the airport. He said, what's our deadline? And I said, well, we got about 3 months before it goes to print. He goes, okay, here's my cell number. He said, you have it now. He said, don't forget me. Yeah, I'm going to forget my told me for an interview. So I went, no problem. So
what was his name again?
Yeah, right. Don't
Jody gets a story on Mike Eruzione, and I get a car warranty phone call. So I don't understand how that works.
He is the most humble guy I've ever talked with. Just a great guy.
Yeah. And we should mention too that he just had a book come out about his time and his life that was phenomenal. Make sure you check that out. Just search for Mike Eruzione on Amazon. I'll tell you too that he is very humble. I love that you were able to reach out. Jody, I do want to touch on something too, a little bit outside of the book, but the fact that, and this is important for coaches and parents, and even if there's any kids listening, that you just decided to reach out. I always say that you'd be surprised if you just write an email or tweet at somebody or send a message to somebody, what can come from that. You never know what these people are doing. If they're too busy, they won't find it. But if they're not too busy, like I said, Mike Eruzione, captain of the 1980 Miracle Team, got back to you, called you. And as Mike Bonelli just said, it was not a person telling me how I can save 37% on my car insurance or how to pay back my student loans, which I don't have. So that's what I love about that story. But let me ask you about this too. So when you were aggregating stories from the book, can you tell us how you put out the call for action of, hey, I'm writing this book, and how people, was it snail mail? Did they email you? Did you get it like so many different ways that you lost count?
Yeah, Actually, it was all social media, every bit of it. It was LinkedIn,
Right,
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, is how I got a hold of, Olympians, NHL players. And like you said, all they'll do is say, no, you know what, I'm not interested, or
right.
they'll just ignore you. And I'm not going to push the fact. So don't be afraid to reach out. Absolutely do not be afraid to reach out.
Right. I mean, and Jody, that's actually how you and I met for the very first time. So through a hockey channel I was running, you reached out to me and you said, hey, I'd like to send you my book. You signed the book to my children, which I thought was awesome. Again, I got to gush about the book just one more minute if the audience will indulge me. This is one of those books you pick up. Everything is very short, right? Like these are 5 to 15-second type stories. And you find yourself, you just can't put it down. You just kind of keep going to the next one because it's so consumable, from the illustrations to the stories themselves. And you did mention social media. We should also mention you have a pretty large following on Facebook. You have a 20,000 plus member group. It's Hockey Moms Aren't Crazy on Facebook. It's still very active. I was just in there tonight, obviously, before the episode. People are excited about the Cup final. What's it like to have built an audience that big that you get to kind of interact with?
Totally shocking. Absolutely shocking. And it's cool because I can look back, you can look at the insights and find out where your audience is. Mine, of course, is Canada, which kind of doesn't surprise me too much. So it's Canada, US, I have Australia, I have Southern Africa, I have Argentina. It just blows my mind, the audience that's there. And with that, you just got to every once in a while keep active on it so that people don't think that you let them down and things like that. So, and of course I'm there to push my product, but it's always fun to ask other questions, what people are doing or what they're up to as far as being a hockey mom, hockey dad, or their thoughts on parenting a hockey kid or billeting or whatever.
I ask you, because of the title of your book, Hockey Moms Aren't Crazy, and you did all this research. Mm-hmm. So now be honest. Are we crazy? Do you think we're crazy?
I like to use the word passionate.
Right.
We're passionate.
So does Gary Bettman.
We're not nuts.
No. There are a few that are nuts, but most of us are pretty passionate.
Okay, that's a nice way to phrase it. In your collection of stories, though, did you find some parents that were maybe a little over passionate?
Oh, of course I did. Of course I did. You've always, and I think this is true in any sport. I don't think it's just hockey. You're always going to have a parent or two on a team that is overactive in the sport. You've got the moms in the stands, some logging ice time and making sure that their kid has got so much ice time or whatever. I could have cared less. I really could have cared less. You've also got the moms banging on the ice, yelling at the refs. And I've seen those moms and I kind of feel bad for them. They're not really enjoying what's going on out there. It's just so much fun to watch. I just feel bad for those that are so tied up in statistics and all that kind of stuff.
So, Jody, you said your daughter played college lacrosse.
My son.
So your son. So was there a lot of similarities between the parents, you think, in the sports, or did the hockey kind of really, do you think, overdid it, or was it the same basically in all crazy hockey moms and sport moms?
When he actually played hockey, went to college, and they talked him into playing lacrosse. They switched him over, and he actually liked it better, I guess. He got more playing time for that. And as far as the parents are concerned, the ones that I ran into had my kind of same story. Their kids all played hockey and at that time switched over to lacrosse. So it was kind of the same crossover.
Got it.
I should mention just real quick, going back to Christy's question of are hockey moms crazy? The full title, the hockey parents, that's very fair. All right. That's 100% fair. But the full title of the book is Hockey Moms Aren't Crazy. Well, maybe just a little bit. We should, that is the full title of the book.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. I'm going to share a story with you guys real quick, Jody, before I want to hear some of your stories too from the book, your favorite ones, or even as a hockey mom yourself. But my son, as those that listen to the show know this, just kind of graduated out of Adams into Mites. And he had a summer skate last night. Just they're doing some skates once a week to get back together. And I couldn't take him. So my wife took him. And my wife's texting me. And I should frame these texts. She goes, he is so fast. At least that's how I read it in he's so fast. And then I find out one of the coaches on the team, I saw him last night. He goes, your son came right up to me and hugged me when he got on the ice. I'm feeling so proud. My son's fast. He's hugging his coaches. And then he goes, but as soon as the whistle blew, he just skated right off. I said, he is trained. I said, just very happy about hearing all this because he really had a great time. And again, for those of you listening, you know this. If you listen to every episode, I said he might have been a little burned out after last season, just because it was all practices in the COVID time period. And he came home and I saw the little spark for the first time. That was a really special moment. And that's going to lead me into my next question for you, Jody, is you can answer this for yourself or for your children or both. You know, what do you love about this game? Because it takes, like we always say, it takes a village to raise a hockey player. It takes a village to raise a person. What do you love about hockey? What do you love about being a hockey parent, as Christy said, which she's 100% right. And you know, what did it bring out in your kids?
For me, I love the sportsmanship. No matter what team you play, there's always that handshake at the end.
Yeah.
And there's such respect. The players have such respect for one another. I don't really see that in the other sports, or didn't feel that in the other sports. All of my kids, the ones that played hockey, I mean, there's lifelong friendships there. They were in each other's weddings. They're godparents to their kids. They're always here and together. And we've grown friendships with our friends too, and we vacation and go out to dinner once a week. I, again, don't really see that with other sports. I just think there's such a bond, and it may be the reason there's such a bond is all the traveling you do together and all the hotels you stay at together, and okay, who's got this kid going where, and you know, and it's just, that's my love for it. I just love the sportsmanship, the camaraderie.
I agree with you. Can you share one of your wildest and funniest stories that you heard that you collect?
Oh, that I collected in the book or something out of the book?
Let's do both.
We're wide open here.
Yeah. Breaking news here on our hockey.
We're not holding back there, darling.
You are in the newsroom
like
right now. Yeah.
One of the funniest, I don't even know if it's funny, but a story that didn't end up in the book was my son was a first-year Bantam. And he went into the boards pretty hard. First shift out, he got slammed into the boards and got up, you know, did his thing. But he went to sit on the bench and he's taking the water bottle and he's squirting his glove through and I'm going, what the heck? He did that every shift. So, I mean, we played 3 periods of hockey and he's back there with the water bottle. And I'm like, all right, something's goofy with that thumb. I don't know. So game over, don't even know if we won, whatever. Went to work at the concession stand because it was my turn to work at the concession stand. And Jeremy comes up and he goes, hey, Mom. And I said, what? And I turned around. His thumb was facing this way. And I went, oh my gosh, you broke your thumb. And the coach, I remember the coach grabbing him by the back of the neck going, why didn't you tell me this happened? And when did it happen? Well, you know, that first period when I got thrown into the boards, and the coach goes, yeah, well, that's when it happened. And I didn't tell you because you wouldn't let me play if I did.
A true hockey player.
Oh, he's a hockey player.
Smart kid. Yeah.
I remember him, we took him there to the doctor and they straightened it out, put a thing on him. First words out of his mouth, can I play tomorrow?
Yeah. Good for him.
That was when he was a Bantam.
That was when first year Bantam, yep.
Yeah, he had good role models. I like kids like that.
I tell that story and people love it too. I don't know why.
Well,
how about goalie parents?
Yeah.
That's some funny goalie parent stories.
I think I shared this one with you in your USA Hockey magazine. So my daughter's playing high school level, and our goalie's dad is standing behind me. And he's yelling at the defense. My daughter played defense. Whatever, you can yell all you want, you know. And then the power play came on and she's out on the power play. And I don't know why they put that Jody Anderson out there on the power play penalty. Okay, I'm done. I've heard enough. And he was so obnoxiously loud that the other team was looking over at us. I mean, this is our own parent. So I go to get up and I feel my husband's hand on my leg going, you know, and I went, I got it. So I get up and I go to the concession stand and I buy a hot dog. I put everything on it. I walk back and I said, here you go. And he just looked at me and went, oh, well, thank you. I said, put this in your mouth. I don't want to hear another word out of you. And I said, by the way, your daughter plays defense.
So, Jody, I'm already learning not to cross you. This is a good interview if we ever meet in person. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Right. No, I love it. I think it's amazing too, Jody, that you're able to, put together these stories. And I think, your point about just meeting these people and getting a lot of stories through social media and different aspects. I mean, we talked about it, like that's how I met. I was at JB Spizzo's house, one of the other guys we had on the show. I literally tweeted him, and I was in Phoenix. I said, I love what you do. I stopped by him at like a barbecue at his house. But, going back to these, crazy, not hockey moms, right, but parents too, to Christy's point. I remember in high school, we used to have one of the dads, they used to have him do the videotaping for all the games. And I had the same experience. Like I'd be in the team room and we'd be watching, and this is back in the VHS days, and the coach would be playing the VHS and you'd hear, I won't say the gentleman's name, but Mr. So-and-so, like, why is Finelli back out there? How come he's on the power play? He shouldn't be out in the penalty kill. He's awful. I'm like, I'm sitting right here. But it's funny how, I think parents, they get lost in their own world up there. And it's really big of you. I think you didn't smack them, right? You just said, hey, I'm just going to make a point to remind you that we're in this together. We're on the same team. And I think we try to, you see that, when you look at crazy. And I think the theme of our show too, Jody, is that although there are crazy hockey parents and crazy hockey moms and dads, the vast majority of us, I mean, hopefully, right, you could write 4 books on how great hockey people are. And, I think that's one of the special things and why I think a book like yours resonates, because it's like one of those things where like, sometimes you can't believe it's actually real stuff that happens. Right. But thank God it's not very often that it does.
You're exactly right. And like you say, I think 90% of the hockey parents are awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And all you need is 10% to write a book. So that's pretty good.
There's good stories in there too. There's nice stories in there. Winnie wrote a nice little story, and about her mom. That's kind of what I wanted too with the book, is that not only would it be funny, but I'd have some stories about how important hockey moms are to that player.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when you look at, like, I know when I read crazy hockey moms, I don't necessarily look at it as a negative light. Sometimes I look at it like the hockey mom or dad that like bake cupcakes for every single kid on the team for a weekend tournament. Like, how do you find the time to do that? Or you built each kid had a little hockey puck looking cake built for them, or it's just like, that's crazy to me. Like, I'm like, where do you find, like, and maybe some people, will call when I'm doing the coaching stuff that I do, oh, you're crazy doing all that extra video work and, getting your lesson plans done. I go, yeah, but that's crazy with all the stuff you do for tournaments and team functions and parties and making the kids feel so special. Like, that gets to the point where I think you probably experienced this with other teams in other sports. You don't see that a lot. I don't see that a lot in other sports, in field sports, like you do in ice hockey.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
And Jody, if you could also talk about, we've talked about this before, about just the tenderness that the moms feel when they read some of what their hockey players shared with you, not even realizing what their role was in their lives as a hockey mom, as a hockey dad. And then, they see it in your book and they read it and they're like, wow, I realized it, but I didn't realize how special that time was and how much it meant to my kid when he was growing up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I had moms reach out to me and they didn't realize they were going to be in the book, and they would reach out and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This means so much to me. I didn't know my son felt like that. And that made me glad. That made me happy that I could share that with them.
Hey, and so for all the new hockey parents listening, you not realize that you really are impacting your kid, and they're going to treasure this time in your life, their entire life. Maybe they'll end up in a book too someday, talking about you as a hockey parent.
Right.
Which we do have some breaking news, everybody. Jody is working on a sequel, second book. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited. This book is almost all sold out. There's just a few left on Amazon. And I actually thought that was it. And I was kind of sad, kind of pouting actually. And because I've just had too much fun with it, you know. And the publisher reached out to me about a week and a half ago, and he says, you know what, we need to do a second edition. So I'm thrilled to announce that we will be doing a second edition, and really needing some great stories, some great fun stories. I have reached out to people, Henry Boucher, Lou Nanny, to get some input from them and see what they all think about that. And Helena Koivu actually is probably going to do a piece in there. So stay tuned. I'm working on it.
Jody, here's one for you, right? You put this: 3 hockey parents try and make a podcast about being hockey parents, right? No,
Yeah.
just joking aside.
If that isn't crazy, I don't know what else.
Yeah, 30 episodes later. Is there a way people can contact you if they want to be involved?
Yes, you can email me at Jody, JODY Anderson, ANDERSON 07 at yahoo.com.
There you go. That's how you can get into the second edition, or at least be a candidate to make the team, right? No one's out there clocking your ice time to get in there. But again, I'm looking at the back of the book. I love this book. Just has a lot of sass and humor to it. It says on the back, finally, a book that gives us the credit we deserve. Well, okay, our kids deserve a little credit too. The whole book kind of has that kind of attitude to it. It is phenomenal. You know, Jody, you bring up in the stories, and it's a theme on the show. And, you know, one of the nice parts about doing a podcast like this and getting to interview a lot of people and have conversations with Mike and Christy is, you know, you start to see some similarities from episode to episode to episode. And one of the coolest similarities, it's something we all know, but it's always nice to be reminded of it, is just how special the hockey community is, right? And, you know, a lot of times we talk about this on the show. It's easy to focus on the negatives. You forget how tight the hockey community is, how important it is. You know, Christy, you just talked about people being influential, parents being influential in their kids' lives. I mean, look, when I look back at all the time I played hockey, things I remember the most are the rides with my dad, being in the car with my dad. You know, I remember some games, maybe some big moments. Definitely remember the championships I probably won. But I remember the time with my dad. I remember the time with my friends. And, like, you know, anyone will tell you, even NHL superstars will tell you, the thing they miss is not the cups, you know, and bleeding for that thing, as special as that is, by the way. But they miss the locker room, right? They miss the hockey. They miss the team. And your book absolutely embodies that. And I think it's really special. And again, I'm sorry to hear it's almost sold out. Hopefully they'll do a second printing, or they'll get a second one. I mean, it's only $7.95, at least list price on the book. I mean, this is something that's easy to get for your friends and family, friends. So maybe if you know anyone involved in the game, this is a fun one. It doesn't matter if you're a dad or a mom or anything like that. But Jody, why don't we start getting towards the closure? What is your favorite story in the book? I know it's unfair to ask you.
Oh, right? Wow.
But you can pick one. I'm sure you have like a top 50, but what is one of your favorite?
I want to know too. What's your favorite?
Yeah.
You know, of course, Mike Eruzione is just at the top of my list. I don't know if it's in the book or not. I'm not awful. Can't remember, but I remember us talking about hockey moms in general. And one of the first things he said to me is, you have to remember, hockey moms weren't hockey moms like they are now when I was playing. He said, my mom had 8 other kids to worry about and would drop me off the rink with 50 cents so that I could pay for my ice time, my practice. And there were times that they didn't have that kind of money, but the rink manager would chalk it up and he'd come back with $1 next time because he'd work an extra job, which it just blows my mind what he had to do and his mom had to do to get him where he was. She was a great cook, loved to cook. And during the USA, when he was on the Olympic team and during the trials and whatnot, she wanted to feed everybody. So she would take apart the beds and throw plywood on top of the bed so the table would be big enough, because she wanted everybody at the table. Nobody could sit in the living room or go outside. Everybody had to be at the table. And she cooked and cooked and cooked for these people. And when they went to Lake Placid, she actually cooked meals, froze them, and got them on the plane so they'd have a good meal to eat at Lake Placid. That just amazed me.
That's just
that's
next
crazy.
level.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's what I mean. That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's just confirm this real quick. I want everybody to know we're recording this podcast. It's 7:45 p.m. here. Mike's in a locker room right now. If you're not watching this, Mike's in a locker room. He's like between coaching sessions. Christy's in her newsroom, right? She's getting ready to go on the news. Jody is in, obviously looks like an office, I'm guessing, with Neil Broughton stuff behind you. I'm in my office. We're all crazy. Who does podcasts at 7 p.m. on a weeknight? You know,
crazy hockey parents.
That's who does it. So anyways, anybody else have any other questions before I close this out?
Yeah, Jody, just tell us again, what it's meant for you to be a hockey parent and what suggestions you would have for the up and coming hockey parents.
It's a great question.
I loved being a hockey mom. Loved being a hockey mom. And as far as suggestions, just take it easy. Sit back, enjoy, let the coaches coach. Let them coach your son. Son or daughter, I'm sorry. And don't say, well, I don't know why he's got you doing that. You should be doing that. Let the coaches do your job so that your child can be the best they can be out on that ice. And I'm saying that too, because my son is now the local high school hockey coach here. And I know what he's going through, but I just want the parents to, you know what, have a good time. Just have a good time. Find your friends, sit in the stands, sing, dance when the music comes on. I did. Oftentimes my son or daughter would say, do you even see me play? You're up there yakking and having a good time. Just take it easy. Don't log their ice time. They'll get a fair share. If they want ice time, they got to work for it. Don't pander, they got to work for it. So just have a good time. Do what you can to improve them. Get that, if they want to go to camp, let them go to camp. If they don't, whatever. It's their choice if they're going to make it or not.
Especially after this COVID year when we missed so much. It's really, this season, live in the moment. If there's anything you can take away from this show tonight, live in the moment because it's fleeting. It goes by so fast.
Oh my gosh. My grandson just graduated high school and I'm like, I haven't got anyone to watch hockey anymore. And I just made the comment, I'll just go sit in the high school stands and cackle at my son who's coaching and blame everything on him. So
if you need some place to go, you can always drive to Philadelphia. I got the full.
Yeah, you're always welcome to Syracuse too.
First year, Mike,
you can
come down. Play. You'll have about 5 sequels if you're able to do that. I'll walk you through the process again. And Jody, you bring up a great point about letting parents let their kids go through the experience. Sometimes we talk about leadership and accountability, and sometimes you have to let your kids go through some of those hardships without your protection, and the protection needs to be that you're there for them later, right? That when they come home, that they know that you love them and that they know that you care about them. But so many life lessons, if you hold their hand too much, if you try and do everything for them, they're not going to be prepared for real life afterwards. So lack of ice time, playing through a broken thumb from the first period, all these little life lessons. I mean, they're really the gift that the game gives. I'm tongue twisted tonight. I'm sorry. Christy's question made me think of one more question, and then Mike, let me know if you have any final questions too. But what was your kids' reception to the book? Right, that's one we don't ask. And I mean, Christy's book, she got her kids on the cover with her, and the back cover. What was your kids' reception to the book?
They were all different, actually. My youngest daughter wrote the foreword in the book. I don't know if anyone knows that, so she actually wrote the foreword. My son, who is now the high school coach, is like, I mean, it's like no big deal.
What do you mean? He's got the perfect gift to all the parents on the team every year.
Yeah, here's my.
This is the handbook. Yeah. I'd start the season with this, right, Mike? Start the season.
Easy.
Yep. So they're all different. The girls, I think girls and boys are just different. Girls were very excited. Oh, that's my mom, and I just love that. The boys are like, that's my mom.
I would have been excited for you, Jody. I'm telling you that right now. I'm excited for you right now.
Thank you.
Mike, any final thoughts from you?
No, I mean, after reading Christy's book and Jody and what she's done, in bringing the stories out, and even just the conversation she's having here and reading your book, Lee, and there's a resonating theme, right? When you get to a level in any sport or any, passion in life, that it really revolves around what did you do as a parent to give, right? So that your son and daughter could get. And I think, like you just mentioned, I mean, you're in the snack bar doing your job, doing your snack bar work. And, making cookies and making sure that the coaches' gifts are probably done at the end of the year, so everybody didn't forget about that kind of stuff. And just that's what good, forget about hockey parents. That's just good people do to ensure that their children are having a great experience. And it sounds like on this panel, I mean, I know firsthand, and Jody, I could hear it in your voice and what you've done. This is what you do, and this is why all your kids have had great experiences. And I think it's something we should all take a piece of.
That was well put, Mike. And I hope if you learned anything from this episode at home, it's to go get a hot dog and give it to the loudmouth in the stands. That's brilliant. I mean, everybody wins in that. Who doesn't like a good hot dog, first of all? But I better be careful. The co-hosts are going to start mailing me hot dogs to my house with the episodes here. But look, this episode was short and sweet, but so was your book. And I think that's the key to the whole thing. It's been seen on the NHL Network. It's been around the league. It's been around the hockey world, as you said. Check out Hockey Moms Aren't Crazy on Facebook. It's a huge community. We'll all be looking out for the sequel to the book, whatever that ends up being named. We were discussing that, but we won't give that away. We'll let people find that one out. But again, Hockey Moms Aren't Crazy. Well, maybe just a little. You can find it on Amazon. You can search it up online. If you just search Jody M. Anderson in the book, you're not going to have a hard time finding it. Jody, thank you so much for being on the episode with us. It was really a pleasure to have you here tonight.
It was Jody. Thank you. It was a blast. I'd do it again.
We're going to do it again when the next book comes out. That's the whole key.
I like it.
So you've been listening to Our Kids Play Hockey. For Christy Casciano Burns, for Jody Anderson and Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias. Thank you so much for listening to this edition. If you want more Our Kids Play Hockey, check out ourkidsplayhockey.com or pretty much just search for us where every single place podcast can be heard. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.